Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for the afternoon, Mr. Ramzy Khoury, our journalist. Mr. Ramzy, it's a very good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Angie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramzy, for your time this afternoon. Now, we are hearing news that a Hamas delegation is to arrive in Cairo later this evening, today on Saturday, to hear from the mediators on the latest round of the Gaza ceasefire negotiations that are taking place in the Egyptian capital, Cairo. We have the White House saying CIA Chief William Burns was amongst the U.S. officials taking part in the discussions being held since Thursday, joining heads of Israeli spy agency and security services. How do you see the latest round of talks taking place in Cairo?
Angie, I'm not very optimistic, with all honesty, because it seems that Netanyahu is adamant on destroying every single prospect. Every time we get close to an agreement, the Americans come out and they say we are very close to the agreement. Israel sabotages the agreement. Then the USA blames Hamas. And this has been going on as if it's a scheduled game of some sort in which parties are buying time. I can tell you what is the latest that is coming out from inside the talks. It seems that Biden has asked Netanyahu to accept the removal of the presence of the military from one post on the Philadelphia axis, which is the borders with Egypt. Is that good enough? Of course, it's not good enough. Israel has to totally withdraw area by the agreements that have been signed, the peace agreements between Egypt and Israel. This is what they state, and to be in breach of the agreements is very problematic. So another piece of news that has come out today is that Netanyahu is willing to withdraw his troops from the border only 1 kilometer away from the border. Again, this is also not something that would be acceptable, because it's also a breach of the Egyptian-Israeli peace agreement. So we are still pretty much where we were. Netanyahu is not cooperating, despite the fact that his own army is saying that Israel needs to reach a ceasefire immediately, and Israel needs to reach an agreement in which the prisoners of war are exchanged. On the ground, Angie, and this is where the problem is, Israel is extremely active. We're talking about massacres on a daily basis. Hundreds and hundreds of people are getting injured, of course, on a daily basis. Only today you're talking about over 40 have been killed. And what many people don't know is that Israel has pretty much cleared out over 80% of Gazan land. Only this month is not over yet. But only this month, we're talking about 250,000 Gazans were forced to move out of areas into what Israel is describing as safe zones, and we all know that they are not safe in any sort of way or manner. But these areas where the Palestinians are being thrown into suffer from lack of water, infrastructure, and all means to keep the Palestinians alive and healthy. And therefore, Israel is extremely active. It's extremely active in ethnic cleansing. So the genocide is ongoing, the ethnic cleansing is ongoing, and then we have in parallel this fiasco called negotiations for a ceasefire. And that is going on and on and on. Every episode looks pretty much similar to the episode before it. And this is why I said I wasn't optimistic, Angie.
Mr. Ramzy, you said, of course, with the ongoing attacks, and today we have reports by the World Health Organization saying that there is a possibility now of an outbreak of polio, as the first child was diagnosed with polio 2 virus, and it has rendered this child paralyzed already. The World Health Organization is calling for at least a 10-day pause a humanitarian pause, to allow them to launch a vaccination campaign, to allow them to treat, you know, the children, specifically young children under the age of 2 that are being targeted by such viruses like the polio virus. How do you see a possibility of such a pause, at least just to deal with outbreaks like disease outbreaks in the area?
Well, unfortunately, Israel is not listening to the United Nations. Unfortunately, whereas the United States is always making statements regarding Israel needs to do this and Israel needs to do that, the United States has not forced Israel to actually do any of these humanitarian tasks that have to be taken. There is a polio problem in Gaza already. This is not something that may turn into an outbreak. The outbreak is already there. We have many children who are affected. And as you know that if you don't control polio, then you've destroyed these children and their lives. It's a terrible situation. But then again, there was starvation inside of Gaza, and the world could not stop Israel from using starvation as a weapon of war against civilians, which is a war crime. And now, with the polio outbreak, if the world does not actually do something about it, Israel is going to let it happen. Because this is exactly what Israel wants to happen. Israel, until today, is looking for the means to make render totally uninhabitable and to convince the Palestinians that they need to move out. This is basically what Israel is doing, and all of this genocide, the ethnic cleansing, allowing diseases to spread, including polio, all of that is part of the scheme, and it serves that goal. And it's very unfortunate because the party that can actually get Israel to stop this is not getting Israel to stop this, and that's the United States of America. Even during this bout, it was fascinating how when Netanyahu declared that the new thing about the negotiations is that Israel will not move out of the Gaza-Egypt border area, immediately Blinken blamed Hamas for sabotaging the negotiations. So the United States is used to giving orders and expecting their orders to be heeded by so many countries in the world, but not Israel. And Israel is not a country that is actually donating to the USA. Israel is a country that receives the big of any country in the world from the USA. And therefore, if we look at this relationship, it's a fascinating relationship. It gives you the impression that Israel is the master and the United States of America is the slave. Because the United States delivers to Israel, but the United States does not have any kind of leverage, or so it seems, on Israel to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
One thing that has come out that is related to what you asked, NG, is that the Americans apparently want the Israelis to stop all military action during the first phase of the negotiations in order to allow for a second phase to happen. As you know, that the negotiations, as Biden put them months ago, the idea is that we would have 3 phases. The first phase, a certain number of prisoners of war are exchanged. Then the second phase, another bunch, and then the third phase would lead to a third fire. So the Americans now are telling the Israelis supposedly that they expect the Israeli military to cease all hostilities during the first phase, which would allow for humanitarian aid workers to come in and do their work. May that be in regards to food and water, medicine and medical supplies, but also, of course, to control disease and to try to support the Palestinians who remain alive in, as much as they could during that phase. Now, if that happens, that could actually be a break.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Mr. Ramzy. I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave it at there. We've just run out of time, but I'd like to thank you very, very much, Mr. Ramzy Khoury, our journalist and our guest for this afternoon. Thank you, sir, for your time and for joining us today.